It's comic book hangover. It's Friday, and that means it's time for another full run Friday video. Now, when I did my other video yesterday, I wasn't quite sure what I was going to do, what run of books or what storyline or whatever I wanted to do for this week's video, but I was reminded that there is a new Annihilation story coming out from Marvel. Now, I know I've done, I think, more Marvel runs in this series than I've done anything else. So next week, I'm going to do my best to do a non-Marvel run. But with this new Annihilation series coming out, this sort of event that just runs apparently seemingly through like random books, it just doesn't seem that interesting to me. So I have all of the Annihilation run. I've got some of the trades and stuff as well, but I've got the Annihilation run, and I just don't have an interest in this new one. So what I've decided to do is I'm going to go through and share my Annihilation series, a lot of which, again, are not boarded, but they're all bagged. And just kind of go through and show what the Annihilation books were and the stories were like back when, in my opinion, back when they were good. It was also a good way of doing an event and something I wish Marvel would, a format that Marvel would utilize more than they do. Actually, I think Annihilation is really the only way that they've done something like this. But let's go ahead and flip this camera around and let's show off some of my Annihilation comics. All right, so here we go. Now this is actually one of my short boxes. All these ones here, these are all long boxes. I'm slowly switching from these long collection drawer boxes to these short collection drawer boxes, mostly because it's easier for me to move these short boxes around these days than these long boxes. Because as everybody knows, that the paper that they use to print our comic books on is so heavy now. You gotta have smaller boxes just to be able to move these things around. So it's a short box. So we'll see how this does. I don't think I've done a short box series yet. So with Annihilation, it actually kind of started off a little different, sort of like kind of how the Infinity Gauntlet started. The Infinity Gauntlet has started with Thanos, coming back in Silver Surfer, and then he kind of did his two-part prestige format Thanos quest, and then came back. It was sort of a very slow build until boom, we hit the Infinity Gauntlet. So this Annihilation series kind of started the same way with Drax the Destroyer, which was a 4-issue miniseries. It reintroduced the character of Drax and kind of gave him a new form, a sleeker form. But before this, during the Infinity Gauntlet and post-Infinity Gauntlet series run, Drax was a big, lumbering, stupid, green brute with a purple cape, and I mean he was kind of like Cosmic Hulk when Hulk was stupid, and kind of a fun character, but really, he overstayed his welcome. And so when this came out, I picked this up because I'm a fan of Marvel cosmic stuff. So I was going to pick this up anyway. And seeing this new version of Drax, I really got into him. I liked how he was able to use full sentences. He was cold, he was calculating, and just vicious. Now the one thing to keep in mind that, even though he kind of looks like it, the Drax that's in the movies is nothing like this Drax. This Drax is awesome. The Drax in the movies is, to me, just a sad, poorly written parody of this version of Drax. This version of Drax would kick that one's ass any day of the week. But this just basically reintroduced Drax to, in my opinion, upgraded him. I like this version much better, and sort of reestablished him in the Marvel Cosmic line, and gave him a new supporting cast, that sort of thing. But really, there wasn't much here that says that, hey, we've got more coming, but we did. And what came was Annihilation. Now, we got first the Annihilation prologue, which kind of set it up, gave us our players. There's Drax right down there, but gave us our players of Drax. There's Nova, Silver Surfer, Super Skrull, Ronan the Accuser. Okay. And the way that they did this series was, first we got four-issue miniseries focusing on our main players. So we got 4 issues of the Silver Surfer, which had really sweet covers. I always like that cover too. It was nice seeing the Silver Surfer back too, and written really well, and just portrayed awesomely. I don't know what they're doing with him now. Doesn't seem like the Silver Surfer to me. So I just, unfortunately, I don't read Silver Surfer anymore. So we got Silver Surfer. There was also Super Skrull. Some more awesome covers, and then this one here, this also made Super Skrull a really cool character. It fleshed him out a lot more than he was before. He was just sort of a one-note joke of a not really a second-rate villain, but a villain you just didn't take that seriously. And this really made him a fully formed, fully fleshed out character. And ever since this, I've liked that guy. Nova. This also made me see Nova in a new light too. Before this story here, Nova, in my opinion, was just a dork with a bucket on his head. And after reading this, I was like, yeah, this guy's pretty cool. So I went back and even reread the 1970s run. I haven't read the 90s runs, but the 70s run was pretty good. And everything post Annihilation, with the exception of the Sam Alexander stuff, I got into. It also made me reassess my opinion of Quasar, who I really did not care for at all. Another sweet cover. Ronan the Accuser. Another character that was just sort of a one-note, paper thin character. Had some cool things about him, and his mannerisms and whatnot. But I really didn't know too much about him until this series, and we really got to learn more about what Ronan was like. And again, the movie version of Ronan, nothing like this. This is Ronan. So we got those four-issue miniseries. Then after that, we got the Annihilation event proper with the first issue. It was a 6-issue miniseries. So we went through those 4 months or so. I think it was actually 8 months, because we did 2 and 2, I think. And then we got that, set everybody up. We know what's going on. We know something major is happening. And, we know, who all the big players are. Now we get the main event, which is the Annihilation. So I got this one. I also managed to snag this variant cover. And here's the other thing about it. Annihilation, it was a surprise to everybody that Annihilus was behind the whole thing. I don't remember seeing anywhere online people calling it as being an Annihilus backed event. And I think even one of the characters in the story made a comment, Annihilus, Annihilation Wave, never made that connection. But this was a great event. I mean, it was very self-contained. It was very well written. It had some nice moments in there. We finally get to see this confrontation, because up until now, the whole point of Drax was he was wanting to kill Thanos, partially because when Drax was human, not whatever it is in the movies, but in the comics, he was human, Arthur Douglas. Thanos was responsible for the death of his human form and also his wife, and he thought at the time the death of his daughter. And we finally get to see the final confrontation between Drax and Thanos. And this one here, the final fight between Nova and Annihilus, is gruesome. I didn't think Richard Rider had it in him to do something like this. So issue 6 would wrap up Annihilation. We would get Annihilation Heralds of Galactus, which was a 2-part cover. And this would focus on sort of the fallout of Annihilation and focus on the Heralds of Galactus and their new status quo. Marvel also gave us the Nova Core File, which was basically an official handbook of the Marvel Universe type book. It listed everybody you needed to know and their vital statistics and all that sort of stuff. So if you're just coming in and you want to know who all the players are, this was the book to get, because this told you who was who, what was what, and when was where, and all that fun stuff. So then after Annihilation, it was a great series. I think it went over well. If I remember right, it was received very well. I absolutely loved it. So we got a follow-up, starting with Annihilation Conquest Prologue. Now, the fans of the Guardians of the Galaxy, this is the series that you want to definitely jump into, because this is where the modern iteration of the Guardians of the Galaxy formed, was in this Annihilation Conquest storyline. And they weren't a joke. They weren't jokesters, and Peter Quill is nowhere near as annoying in the comics, in this era of the comics, as he is in the movies. And I'll just say it right now, I'm not a fan of the Guardians of the Galaxy movies. I do not like how they portrayed any of the characters. But we got Conquest Prologue, and so Marvel followed the same format. We got four-issue miniseries to kind of set up our players. We got a new character this time around, though, Wraith. And this was drawn by Kyle Hotz, one of my favorite artists. I've never been able to figure out how to pronounce his last name, but this character was awesome. I know he's shown up after this, and they kind of Donny Cates tried to tie him into his Venom story. To me, it didn't work, but he was awesome. He was a great character. So we got Wraith, some awesome covers. And this was, this story picked up after Annihilation, so the universe was still reeling from the Annihilation wave. We get a new Quasar, who's Phyla-Vell. Where was I? Oh, yeah. So this picks up after the events of Annihilation, and focuses mostly, if I remember right, and I'm pretty sure I do, focuses mostly on the Kree Empire. So Ronan is he was basically made the new Kree Supremer, so to speak, and he is trying to fortify the defenses of the Kree Empire. And we get Star-Lord. This had some very interesting art in it. It reminded me of Aeon Flux a little bit. And the first thing we see is there's a problem with all the computers and whatnot being taken over. We find out that some of the people who were supposed to help the Kree Empire fortify their defenses were actually taken over by the Phalanx, which was, to me, at that point, the only knew about the Phalanx was from the X-Men series. I didn't realize they're even still a thing. And so I guess we just got those three miniseries there, because now next one up is Annihilation Conquest. So we find out that the Phalanx has taken over everything and is starting to assimilate the Kree Empire. They were able to knock the Kree Empire, the space, the area, the borders of the Kree Empire. They knocked it out of sync with the rest of the universe. So anybody who was within the Kree Empire couldn't get out, and anybody who was outside of it couldn't get in. There was no communications or anything. And so we got the Guardians of the Galaxy reformed. Quasar and Moondragon were on a quest to find the Savior. It was, we had everybody in all sorts of directions trying to find a way to stop the Phalanx, and thinking that the Phalanx was actually the big problem. And it wasn't. We find out that it was actually Ultron. The Phalanx tried to assimilate Ultron, and it was Ultron who actually took over the Phalanx and reformatted them to suit his purposes. And then we get the return of Adam Warlock in this series as well. Adam, I don't think they really explain what happened to him, why he was, where he ended up in his new cocoon. But this version of Adam is very different than what we've had before, and I actually really enjoyed it. Annihilation Conquest is a war story, and it's a wide-scale war story. And before this, just like with the Phalanx, I really didn't read too much with Ultron. This version of Ultron he's scary, which was kind of sad when they made the movie version of Ultron. I was used to this version, so an Earth-based version of Ultron just seemed very weak to me. But it is what it is. It's just because I was introduced basically to Ultron through this story here. So this is a different version of Ultron. I understand that. So after the Annihilation series and Annihilation Conquest series wrapped up, we did get another mini series, another 4-parter called Annihilators, where you had some of the people who were involved with the Annihilation deals sort of teaming up as an unofficial team and trying to make things better. These ones got variant covers by Mike Mignola, I believe, or I don't know who that is, but I like that cover, so I grabbed that cover. And that cover, I thought there were Mike Mignola covers for this, but it's been a while since I've looked at these. Scotty Young. And they got a follow-up miniseries, Annihilator's Earthfall, where they fought against the Avengers. And I think this had to deal with the Cancerverse as well. Another amazing concept that was created. There's a young Magus. Some good stuff. Some amazing stuff that was done. And then the last, there's the last issue there. To me, the last Annihilation story worth reading was Annihilation Scourge. And I grabbed this variant cover because I like this. This is a Ron Lim Annihilus cover. I loved that cover. So, and this one was kind of different. I think it was a series of one-shots. So we got a Beta Ray Bill, which made me happy. Big Beta Ray Bill fan. Had to grab the variant cover for it as well. We got Fantastic Four, which kind of made sense since, Annihilus was a Fantastic Four villain. Nova joined the party. They're really nice. I like that cover. That's a really sweet cover. Silver Surfer. Not one of my favorite Silver Surfer covers, but it's doable. It's passable. And then it wrapped up with Annihilation Scourge Omega. Nice cover there with the Sentry on top of everybody. And that basically wrapped up Annihilation. So it wasn't a huge set of books that we got for Annihilation, but what we did get was to me it was a well-planned, well-executed series of events that surprisingly did not get new additions as it went on. Marvel has this habit of they'll come up with an event, they'll release their little checklist saying, these are the books that are going to be part of the event. This is what you got to read. And then as the story progresses, they end up adding new things to it. And you wind up having to buy more and more and more. Then they put out these variant covers and these other tie-ins, and it's just too expensive. Annihilation, you got the prologue, you got the four-issue miniseries, which, like, again, I think that it went, you had 2 going, for the 4 months, then you had the other 2 going for another 4 months, and then you had the 6-issue Annihilation. Conquest was basically the same way. Scourge, you had the first book, the Alpha, then you had your handful of one shots, then you had your Omega, and it was wrapped up. They didn't add anything to it. It was so much fun. So I do highly recommend Annihilation and Annihilation Conquest. Those are great books. As a matter of fact, they are available in trade paperback, and I'm going to share the trades that I have that I wound up getting. Comic book conventions are a great thing, and I'm so glad they're coming back this year because I was able to get these Annihilation trades at a show. I think it was Motor City Comic Con in Detroit, Michigan. Guy had boxes and boxes of trades there for $5 each. And I flipped through and hit a vein of Annihilation. So I got the book 1. This has Drax the Destroyer 1 through 4, the Annihilation Prologue, and Nova number 1 through 4. That was great. Volume 2, or book 2, has the Super Skrull and Ronin miniseries and the Ronin, Super Skrull, and Silver Surfer miniseries. So that's a little bit thicker, but still good for $5. And then this was book 3. This was the Annihilation 1 through 6, the Heralds of Galactus, and the Nova Corps one shot were all in this. And it's got one of my favorite covers is the back cover there. I thought that was pretty cool too. And I got, I don't know if I got this from the show or if I got this through the Marvelous box. But Annihilation Classic. Prints stories from Bug number 1, Tales to Astonish 13, Nova number 1, Quasar number 1, the first Rocket Raccoon miniseries, Marvel Spotlight number 6, Logan's Run number 6, which is a Thanos story, and Marvel Premiere number 1. So that was cool. Then Annihilation Conquest. This prints the prologue, Quasar, Star-Lord miniseries, and Annihilation Saga, which I think was sort of another one of those other books that the handbooks. And then this one has Wraith 1 through 4, issues of Nova number 4 through 7 of his ongoing series that was actually going at the time, and Conquest number 1 through 6, as well as a kick-ass cover on the back. So that's it. That's my Annihilation set. Now, again, I do recommend Annihilation and Annihilation Conquest. I mean, if you're an MCU fan and you liked Ultron in the Avengers Age of Ultron movie and you thought he was badass in there, you need to check out Annihilation Conquest and find out what it's like when he's able to really let loose and he has no Earth-based heroes in his way. That was just an amazing thing. There was also a what if that they did. I think I may have that somewhere, but there was a what if because at the time Annihilation was going, I think Civil War was going on Earth, and they did a what if the Annihilation wave hit Earth during the Civil War, which was pretty chaotic. But I guess that's it. That's this week's video. Hopefully it wasn't too boring, and hopefully I wasn't able to. I didn't go off because I'm not a fan of the movies, so I do have a tendency to go off and kind of run them down a little bit. I try not to. I've been working on it because I really don't want to be overly negative or negative at all when I do these videos. So, but that's it. That's Annihilation. Again, it's a recommended 2 really highly recommended events, especially if you like the cosmic stuff, because it gets crazy. The trades are readily available. If not, you can get the individuals. Some of those, I think some of the Wraith books were considered key books for a time there during the Donny Cates Venom, whatever that Venom thing that he did recently was. But they're recommended. I enjoy them. Actually, Annihilation Conquest, and Infinity Gauntlet are events that I read every year. They're just without fail. Once a year I read those books. So that's it. That's what I got. Thanks for watching. We'll see everybody next Thursday, as always, with my weekly haul, weekly review video, and then next Friday with another one of my fun. To me, these are fun full run Fridays. Have a good weekend, everybody.